Hi, my name is Kerry Critchlow from RCR Recording Studios, and today I'd like to get into another kind of thinking out loud video where I'm just sort of off the cuff discussing some thoughts I had. Today I was thinking about Nirvana and something I like to call the Nirvana effect. And that's how a small band that no one had ever heard of from Aberdeen, Washington, essentially brought grunge to the mainstream. Now, Nirvana wasn't the first one to play grunge music. They didn't invent the genre, but they were the ones who broke it. And in doing so, they brought dozens and maybe even hundreds of bands up with them. Bands like Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Smashing Pumpkins, and other iconic bands from the 90s that are too numerous to list. How did they do it? Well, and ultimately, you might be able to chalk it up a little bit to like timing and good luck, but there was more to it than just that. And you might even argue that it was what they were doing behind the scenes that led to that good timing or good luck or what have you. There's an old quote, I don't remember who said it, but the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. And I think Nirvana epitomizes that to a large degree. And so what did they do to kind of garner this success and invent this entirely, not invent, but brought this entirely new genre of music to the mainstream that kind of, encapsulated the youth culture of the early 90s? They did it simply by supporting other bands, other local bands. And I know it sounds stupid, like, aren't other bands in competition with one another? Don't I have to be better than this band? Don't I have to badmouth that band in order to make myself look better? But no, that's not how it worked, at least not for Nirvana, and I don't know of any bands that made it like that. But what they did was they created a culture, a community of people around the concept of supporting local music around Seattle, Washington. And they did this by supporting one another. When they had shows, they'd go to each other's shows. They bring their own fans and they promote the show of this local band to their fans and have everybody come. And then when that band was then playing, or didn't have a gig, they would promote that show to when Nirvana was playing, or vice versa. And they grew this community of people and got them to kind of tap into this visceral underground movement by promoting one another. As it turns out, a lot of these bands had shared practice spaces around the city of Seattle during the time, and they'd constantly be in close proximity with one another. One band would walk into another's little rehearsal space across the hallway and just check out and see what they were doing. And then that band would come over and listen to what they were doing. And there was all this cross-pollination and all this kind of shared knowledge and, poking your head in to see what the other guy's doing. And it created this kind of cohesion and a sound, and they brought this to their fans and they supported one another. They would even share singers or drummers or guitar players between rehearsal spaces or what have you, or shows where one member was sick or couldn't play. There were all these little things that they would do to show support and learn from one another and to help each other succeed. And it was through this that the fans grew around these collectives of bands that were all supporting one another and all trying to help one another out, and growing their fan bases cross culturally through the bands. So Soundgarden would share their fans with Nirvana, Nirvana would share their fans with Soundgarden, and both fan bases grew because of it. And if you want to start what I'm going to call the Nirvana effect, I think the best way to grow your own fan base is to support other local bands' fan bases. Get to be friends with them, get to know them, riff with them, jam with them, have fun, go out and have some drinks or whatever, dinner, whatever is fun these days. Make time to be in community with each other and love and support one another, and don't talk bad or gossip or whatever behind their backs. Build each other up, lift each other up, and ultimately through that process you will start to develop fan bases that are not just into you but are also into these local bands. I mean, remember when Nirvana shot up, they may have been the first to bring grunge to the mainstream, but they weren't the ones that invented it, and they arguably weren't even the best at it. As a matter of fact, Smashing Pumpkins was probably the most successful grunge band of the 90s, at least from a commercial standpoint. But the Smashing Pumpkins probably would not have had any of their success had it not been for Nirvana. And that's because when Nirvana broke, they brought all these other bands up with them. And so if you want to have a successful career in music, I highly suggest supporting your local your local bands and your music scene, and getting out there and start engaging, start going to shows, start showing your support and your love, and build each other up. And ultimately, that will be reciprocated back to you, if not directly, then at least indirectly. And who knows, your city might be the next Seattle grunge scene, or the equivalent of it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some knowledge out of this, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.